Hello everyone and welcome back to another Getting Stuff Painted, my bi-weekly update, give or take, on the models I've been covering, painting rather, for the games we cover here on the channel. Still on the tail end of just getting over a cold or wherever that was, so apologies if I am a little bit sniffly, but nevertheless I have managed to get quite a bit painted up. A lot of it is green. It's going to be a green theme today. It's just the way it happened to work out. Didn't plan that or anything. Definitely did put me in the mood for Nurgle themed stuff, but we can talk about that when we get to it. So from left to right, we have the entirety of what I had left to paint for a Blood Bowl team. We have the entirety of what I had left to paint for a Kill team. And then we have two gigantic models for Age of Sigmar / Warcry, the latter of which is what was used for here. And then finally, just on the end, another Assaultron that I found stuffed down the side of a cupboard. It was one I lost and just found recently, so I added that to the to-do pile. So in recent updates, you might remember that I showed off all the Gnoblars that come in the Ogre team for Blood Bowl, the Fire Mountain Giants I think the team is called. Two of these I did pretty early on. I previewed these two on Blue Sky. These two I just finished. I did most of the work on them yesterday, which was my day off. Today, just finished off the bases. So the bases are like just done. I was waiting for it to dry before recording this video. So it's the 4 Ogres. The vast majority of the Ogre team is not Ogres, because if it were, you wouldn't ever have a chance. They're dumb, but they're really powerful. So I used the same painting scheme for basically all of them, with the exception of, again, trying to just match up official paint jobs. The skin tone of this one is a little different. But I'll show you these three while we're just talking in general about the paint use. As per usual, everything done with contrast paint, of course, for the most part. And Gracier is the base coat. Also, I will mention the assembly instructions for these ogres were not 100. I mean, maybe it's my fault. It's been a while since I've been like assembling a bunch of Games Workshop stuff that comes with options. Not options in terms of, oh, you can equip this weapon to this guy, but like completely different poses that might also change the role they are. It's less prevalent in Blood Bowl, the latter problem there. But for instance, none of the official paint jobs have this skull here. I think it's on a shoulder pad for one of them. I didn't notice. And certain buckles for their gigantic belts go in certain bodies, and I didn't know that either. So a lot of them, if you turn to the side, you will actually see a gap because they are not snugly fitted, or they're just like slightly out of place with the rest of the belt. It's unfortunate. That's what happened though. So in terms of colours used, the base I did exactly the same as the Gnoblars. We don't need to spend much time on it. It's the AK Technical paint that's concrete, painted with Rattling Grime, and then a little Gracier stripe to show like a pitch line just for character, and filling in the gaps with the same stuff. That's what the stuff looks like, the AK concrete paint. If you're ever curious, that's the colour it is right there. So anyway, with the exception of the one in the end, all done with Guilliman Flesh skin tone with a little Volupus pink for their giblets, they're visible. The Magmadroth Flame for their orange, that's the warmer, newer orange that Games Workshop did in the contrast paint range. All the whites is just the base coat with Nuln Oil over the top, Nuln Oil over everything. The boots are a mixture of a Leadbelcher Silver and Basilicanum Grey, and that is, I think that's Nazdrag yellow on top of silver paint for all their shoulder pads without exception. And this one is pretty fun because he's holding a bear trap, so I had some fun with the Blood for the Blood God technical paint there just to make it look like he's recently pressed it into someone's face. Doesn't seem very legal to bring that onto the pitch, but ogres don't care. They're very dumb. Oh yeah, I used Volupus pink around their mouths as well. And some of the official paint jobs for their hair has it very blue, so I don't know, maybe ogres just naturally have blue beards and such, and sideburns, so I did that. For this one I believe I used Ultramarines blue. For the other blue I'm about to show you, I used Stormfiend for contrast paint. But beyond that, again, all the same colours. I think this one is the Runt Punter, and then the rest of them are just bog standard ogres. This is the one that kicks the Gnoblars down the pitch, in theory, or might accidentally just kill them. That can happen too, because hey, it's Blood Bowl and that kind of thing happens. So not much else to say about him. These were the first two I got done, and I'm pretty happy with how they turned out, honestly. Not bad. And then these are the two I just finished yesterday. This one is holding a Gnoblar, getting ready to chuck him. If it will come into focus, hopefully. There we go. So he is just getting ready to throw him, and it's screaming like Bart when Homer strangles him. So that's Mantis Warrior Green for the Gnoblar. skin tone, etc. I covered them in like 2 or 3 videos ago now in this series. I did most of them. The box comes with like 12 of them or something, so you get your fair share. I have noticed I'm going to have to pick out the silver on that particular little spiky bit on his shield a bit better. It's been the orange has bled onto it too much and I didn't notice. That's what I get for recording this immediately, but I'll fix that off camera. So next time you see this model, whenever that is, that'll be fixed. And then finally, this one is armed with I've forgotten what this weapon is called, because that kind of stabbing weapon has a Katar. Is that what it is? Katar with a K? I think it is. Either way, again, not something that really should be legal on the Blood Bowl pitch, but whatever. Who's going to argue with an ogre? The only difference for this guy in the skin tone is I used Fire Slayer Flesh. If you want to match up to the official paint job, I actually think you need to go a tone darker. He is very dark skinned, so you'd probably want to use Wildwood, or yeah, probably Wildwood. In terms of like sticking with contrast, I mean, to get an appropriate dark tone to match up. So I did him a bit too light with the chosen color I used, but that's okay. I also could have done a second coating of Fire Slayer Flesh had I realised sooner. That would also just darkened it up before putting the Nuln Oil on, but you know, it still sets them apart a little bit. I forgot to mention, but the trinkets on their necklaces and things, that's just Leadbelcher Silver with Nazdrag Yellow on top of it as well. So for the first time in a long time, and a lot faster than when I did the Bogenhafen Barons over the course of like a year, finished the whole Blood Bowl team pretty quick. Granted, the Noblars were very, very small, so they were pretty easy, but hey, that means I can start on another one, and I need to make a decision on whether it's an old team that I've had sitting for ages, or one of the newer releases I did pick up wanting to use them at some point, like the Vampires or the Gnomes. So next we're going to talk about this cluster of monstrosities. It is 4, 4, and 4 of 3 different types of, I think they're classed as infections, or blights perhaps, for the Gellerpox infected. I mentioned last time when I talked about the final 2 monsters, whatever they're called, Plague Hulks I think it is, for the kill team. That essentially finished off the kill team, but they come with all these little guys because you can take, I think it's an equipment option for them or a stratagem, whatever, and you get one of these, and they actually have a stat line. They're not great, but it's extra bodies, and they're usually just like an annoying detriment. So technically I hadn't finished last time, but I can say now I have entirely finished the Gellerpox infected. Could technically even get a kill team game recorded at some point if using the old Ultramarine models I've got sitting around, since I don't have another team painted up to be used. Kind of put that in the back burner just in the interim to learn the Metal Gear Solid board game that I hope you've checked out. That's a self-contained board game. It's got a beginning and an end, so you know, it's short term as opposed to Kill Team, which could be around long term if people want, but at some point there will be a viewer verdict for Kill Team. Anyway, we have 4 of these like weird armoured slug things. They're in slightly different poses. Well, they're in very different poses actually. Then we have 4 flies of varying amounts, including an absolute horde coming out of a skeleton I presume they've just eaten the flesh off of. And then we have like silkworms, who I couldn't really match up the official paint job colour to. They're very small, so this is going to be difficult, but I'll just kind of show off what I can. So this was Black Legion with Nazdrag Yellow for the yellow parts, and I did a dry brushing of Ulthuan Grey, and then Agrat Surshade was the wash I used. That's Magus Purple, I believe it was, or no, Dreadful Visage. Sorry, it's such a pale contrast paint. It's barely any colour at all, but that's what I used for those to make it look very tentacly and disgusting. For their little proboscis, is that the word? Sticking out of varying lengths. So that's what I used for those. And I think I used a little bit of actual gold paint for their talent. Again, just trying to match up to the official paint job. With hindsight, I wish I'd just used Nazdrag Yellow as well, or whatever yellow was I used here. I think that was Ironjaw's yellow. Either way, I didn't use the same thing on both, and I do regret that now looking at them. For the flies, I used Briar Queen Show for the wings. That's also going to be relevant for when we talk about the big guys in a second, because the same base was used for them. I used Ghoulman Flesh for the fleshy bits of the back, Black Templar for the black on the front, and Bal Red for the red eyes. And for this helmet, I think it was Mantis Warrior Green. I'm not sure whose helmet it was meant to be. I couldn't quite tell in the official paint job either, so just paint it up. I knew it was mostly going to be lost into the sludge, which again is the AK technical paint, texture for Plague World with Agrax Earthshade over the top to give it a bit more definition. And I used Striking Scorpion Green for the ones that are like leaking goo. Please focus. There we go. For the ones that are leaking goo like this one is, it looks like he's stuck to the ground and he's trying to pull away and can't quite manage it. You'll see more of that on the slugs because they're like drooling and stuff. This is probably my favourite one. It's almost like the start of a Nighthaunt model with just evil flowing out of a skeleton because you know they've just like picked it clean. You know they're moving on to something else. Doesn't look as good from underneath, unfortunately, but pretty cool looking from up here. And then finally, I made a mess of it over here, but we have 4 silkworm thingies. So I used Agros Dunes for their skin colour. I'm not really sure what you could have used to match up the official paint job. It's a very strange colour. You'd have to see it and gauge for yourself. I think Dreadful Visage with something on top might have been better, again with hindsight. But I used Agros Dunes with Agrax Earthshade over the top. And it's again Striking Scorpion Green for the slime. I also added some of the Nurgle's Rot fancy paint to add even more slime for the particularly large mouths. Like for instance the one that's basically 90% mouth. This one, when if it comes into focus, it's going to be hard because it's very, very small. It's very low to the ground. Hopefully right there. Anyway, it's got a huge maw, so I just made it drool slime everywhere. Because, you know, Nurgle stuff, it's fun. We'll talk more about that in a second when we talk about the largest models. I did those a week ago now on a day off as well. Just worked up the confidence to do those large models, which I've spoken about before in this series. Like if I have a large model to paint, I really have to be in the mood to just like knuckle down and just do it. Is knuckle down the expression or is it knuckle up? I don't remember. Either way, these are 2 Pusgoyle Blight Lords. That's what kept confusing me in that Warcry video. Because these are called Blight Lords, but those are Blight Kings. There's no difference. Those are just Blight Kings, but they're called Blight Lords when they get a Pusgoyle, aka a Blight Drone. So these guys are super impressive minis. They came in the same box as the Blight Kings I previously painted in the Harbinger. It's a box that is no longer available. You have to buy them separately, and my Discord and I did the maths, and you're paying a lot more now for what was in that box originally. GW, when will you learn? Never, because they always make profit. So, super impressive models, had to work up the confidence to just tackle them, and I just went in on them. Remembering every colour I've used here, particularly for the wings, is going to be a problem, because I was experimental with these. I really like the effect that came back on the wings, but in terms of how I painted the Blight King, I did the same as I've done previously. You'll have to go back quite a few videos, but essentially it's just a mixture of Striking Scorpion Green, Mantis Warrior Green, Militarum Green for some of the cloth, like for instance around here. The flesh tone is just Guilliman flesh with a little bit of Lupus Pink where relevant, and also some yellow, a mixture between, depending on how bright I want the yellow in my dog's hair, either Imperial Fist yellow or Iron Jaws yellow. The stick for the scythe is Rattling Grime, and silver with the Army Painter Dry Rust brushed on it, and a little bit of the Nurgle Rot technical paint. The drone themselves, that is Mantis Warrior Green with Agrax Earthshade over the top. The guts are Volupus Pink and or Magus Purple, and any kind of Nurglings are also done in the the what is it called? It's the pale green. I keep forgetting the name of because it's related. Gut Ripper Flesh. That's the one for zombies and such. That's what I use for the Nurgles. So if we look at the wings, I mentioned I used Briar Queen Chill as a base. I really like how these wings came out, and it was just kind of experimentation. While the Briar Queen Chill was damp, I mixed in sporadically some Biotan Green Wash. I mixed in a little very runny, while it was still wet, Volupus Pink. I think I tried some Magus Purple in there, and Agrax Earthshade over everything once it was fully dry. So that is how I got that effect, vaguely speaking. It kind of looks like bubblegum flavoured ice cream, if you've ever had that in the UK. So, and I did it on both sides here, for instance, as well. Really fun miniatures, and I love, again, just the theme of Nurgle stuff. It's always fun to paint, because even if you're bad at painting, you can make it just look lovely in a disgusting way, because disgusting makes it look better because it fits the theme. But I do enjoy this one's just dragging a huge bell along the floor. It's dangling from its innards. It's disgusting. It's got its innards hanging out, for that matter, right here. And then you've got the playful Nurglings on them. For instance, on this guy, there is a Nurgling hanging by an intestine from, hopefully in focus, from the top of his standard bearer thing here. I don't think I can get it in focus because it's going to want to focus on where his scythe is. It's very awkward. I think that might be in focus. If not, at least you're getting a good look at him. He actually does have both hands, but he's got a tentacle growing out of his shoulder blade that's taking control of the left side of his body. He also has a mouth where his stomach used to be. Mondays, am I right? So he's pretty fun. Again, the drones themselves, you know, they're there, but it adds to the overall like look of them. Like, I love how these look. Annoying to store because they are so tall, but fantastic to look at. So this one, yeah, like I mentioned, the Nurgling, you kind of see him better from the back. Got a cauldron full of garbage down here, and then down here, which is really fun, it's just a little addition you can put on whether you want to or not, or whether you'd like to, or you can choose to ignore it, it's optional. You get a little Nurgling that's riding a baby drone, or Puscoil, whatever, and he's just waving hello. And I thought that was so cute, because, you know, Nurgle is cuteness. It's cute in a disgusting kill you via disease way. So painted him in the exact same way as the big guy. I love that little bit of flavour there. So yeah, that is the biggest models I painted for some time, and I'm really happy with how they came out, and they looked great on the table. I don't know if I'd tackle something that large again for a little while, because again, got to work up the confidence to try and paint one of those things that size. But Nurgle is great. It covers your mistakes. Oh, I forgot to mention the bases, but it's the same bases I always do, and I just described for these with the exception of putting on some, I think that's Army Painter Alien World flock for the weird kind of red and orange coated. I use that for all my Nurgle stuff, whether it's fantasy or 40k, because I think it really matches the theme. And to end on, yet again, I've done these in the wrong order really, where we're ending on a whimper rather than a bang, but like I said at the top of the video, I keep finding Assaultrons that I forgot I assembled and they've fallen behind stuff. I recently, I think even, it might have been the video before this or before that, I found one, painted up, and I found another one while I was doing some cleaning and preparing stuff for spray painting. I found an Assaultron, and I presumed I'd pre-washed it, so I just spray painted it while I was spray painting other stuff. So I did this one in the same way as I did the last one I talked about, in the sense of just painted it military black, which is like Black Legion, with Necron compound dry brushing underneath first, and a little bit of rust on top. Although actually now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, did I forget to do the rust? I think I did, because I don't really see the rust. But what I did do, after applying Aggart Surfshade over it to at least make it look a little bit wasteland dirty with that, is I decided this one just finished chopping someone up, and that explains the slightly weird pose that Modiphius picked for this one. So I have covered it in blood for the Blood God to make it look like she's just finished just absolutely slicing someone to bits with the two sword hands or chainsaw hands or whatever. So interesting in that sense, and just again trying something a bit different because I've painted so many Assaultrons at this point. I think I have like 8 of them now with this one done. I'm almost certain now, I will pledge now, that that's probably the last Assaultron, at least of like the standard type, I have sitting around. I am very, very certain I have no more random ones sitting somewhere that I'm going to discover and be like, oh, probably should have painted that a while ago. I think this is the final one, so it's done now, and that means I can move on to something else for Wasteland Warfare next time the mood strikes me. Although right now I'm still mostly in the mood for Call to Arms, and painting up some fantasy stuff from that. And with that, that is going to do it for another Getting Stuff Painted. A very wide assortment of different size miniatures. Bunch of tiny stuff, slightly above average stuff. I would describe the Assaultron as average, and then the really tall Puscoils. They're also very hard to all fit in frame because of the differing sizes. If you'd like to see early previews of things I'm painting that show up in these videos, please do follow me on Blue Sky, it's linked below. If you want to share what you've been painting, you can join the Discord. If you need a link, just swing by when I'm streaming on my gaming channel or Twitch, and I will happily provide you a link, and you can join via that and share your models if you like. In terms of what I'll have for you next time, I am going to knuckle down and get some of the Metal Gear Solid stuff painted up. At the very least, I want the playable characters painted up. I'm not so sure about the guards yet, but we'll see. And possibly some more, well, almost certainly more Warcry. Don't know if I'll immediately crack open another Blood Bowl team, because I do have a couple of Warcry teams from the Catacombs box that have been sitting for a while that I kind of want to get started on. There'll be interesting paint jobs, 2 very different styles. And then maybe some Battletech, and maybe some more Space Marines with the intent of using them for Kill Team. I would like to find the time to do even more Nurgle stuff, by handling the Plague Marine side of that recent Kill Team box, which came with, you know, Plague Marines versus Space Marines. Had it sitting for like since early December, late November. So I do want to get cracked into it. This is the year where eventually Kill Team will appear on the channel, just not sure when. Anyway, thank you for watching as always. Please do remember to show your support in any way you can for the channel if you like the content produced on it, and if you can spare extra to become a member or check out channel sponsor via the affiliate link, I would appreciate it. Enjoy your day, and I will see you in the future. That's all for now.